Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to Sister Wives with Mary Jane K. Today, I'll be giving my commentary on Sister Wives, Season 3, Episode 5, Defending Polygamy. I have been waiting for this episode to come up in my rewatch. Cody's little high school reunion is in this episode, and it is very illuminating. It's very interesting how Cody perceives himself back in high school versus how Cody's classmates remember him being in high school. Cody perceives himself as a football star and a wrestling champ back in high school, but his friends described Cody as the dorky kid who did things to get attention, an awkward kid who loved the limelight, and he would do anything just to get attention and be the main focus. Cody also seems to cower to men, and we really see that here in his relationship with Ken. Cody seems to cower to men when they're blatantly disrespectful, being almost apologetic for who he is. Yet let's contrast that with the way he treats women, with the way he treats his wives. Cody always tells his wives, don't bother with the love if you can't bother with the respect. Don't bother with the love if you can't respect me. But Cody is docile with men who blatantly disrespect him. He is the subservient one. He's following Ken around like a puppy dog, wanting acceptance and wanting friendship. But he forces his wives to submit to him, demanding control, shouting about patriarchy this and alpha male that, wanting respect, yet he conducts himself very differently with men than with women. If a wife disrespected Cody the way Ken did, Cody would go apeshit. And with Ken, he is just ignoring it, following Ken around, almost begging for a friendship. And Ken just wasn't that into Cody. Cody should watch that movie. There's a movie, some chick flick that I saw a long time ago. He's just not that into you. I think Cody needs to watch it. The dynamic between Cody and Ken is very interesting. We also learned that Cody always loved the limelight since high school, and he loved fussing with his hair, and people thought Cody was gay because of how he dressed back in high school. It's very interesting that Cody says he was an athlete and a mainstream guy in high school, yet everyone else recounts that Cody was dorky, he was metrosexual, he dressed weird, he did anything he could to have all eyes on him. Not one friend of Cody's described Cody as an athletic genius or the way Cody described himself in high school. So Cody perceives himself differently, or he wants to portray himself differently than he was. And Cody still has an issue with the way he perceives himself and the way others perceive him. Let's get into this episode. So the episode opens with Robin being very happy that she is having a boy. She wanted a boy, so she's happy she got the boy she wanted, and she was excited to share the news with everybody. All of the kids want to know what the baby's name will be. Dayton wants the baby to be named Cleveland Brown, and Cody explains that in his family, they have tons of city names for their kids, like Logan for Logan, Utah, Madison for Madison, Wisconsin, Savannah for Savannah, Georgia, Aspen for Aspen, Colorado, and Dayton for Dayton, Ohio, of course, although Dayton wasn't named by Cody or the Brown family. Gabe wants to name the baby Kevin. Robin wants to know if Cleveland Brown is a person or not, and Cody tells her he thinks that they're a football team. Cody asks Savannah what they should name the baby, and she says Rick. Cody is stoked that the baby is healthy and that all the parts are in the right places. I know what Cody meant, that he's happy that the baby is healthy and everything is as it should be, of course. But it was very weird how he said that all the parts are in the right places. He's happy about that. Like as if a baby is going to come out with an arm growing out of their forehead or something. Robin doesn't know what she wants to name the baby yet. Cody and Robin are now heading to birthing classes together because it's their first child together. Cody reveals that he already took a birthing class 18 years ago, and of course, he helped with all of the births with the exceptions of the C-sections and Christine having Truly in the hospital. Cody helped all of his wives give birth. Robin says that they have had different experiences, but they're like first-time parents, and together This is their first delivery. So that's why they're there taking this birthing class. Although Cody has over 15 kids and Robin has 3 kids so far. So they're still taking this birthing class as if they're new parents for the first time. And the justification is this is their first delivery together. It looks to me like they just really needed something to film and Robin really wanted the limelight. Robin says, even though she knows what she is doing here and Cody knows what he is doing, they need to take this birthing class to figure out how to do it together. So basically, this is utter bullshit. No mom who has given birth 3 times wants to go to a birthing class. And no dad who has done birthing a double-digit amount of times needs to attend a birthing class to figure out how to do this as a couple for the first time together when they have both had multiple birth experiences separately already. This is about filming for the show and, of course, for Robin to bond with Cody and get all the attention she can on herself, in my opinion. This is completely pointless. So Cody and Robin go into the birthing class and they film everything, and Robin tries hard to be the center of attention during the class. It's kind of annoying. It's pathetic. If I was pregnant for the first time, having never given birth, watching these 2 idiots film and be in the limelight just for their storyline when I am just there amidst my busy life of work and this and that to get the basics for a birth, and I'm scared and I've never done this, I would be so fucking annoyed that these 2 creepos were filming in my class and stealing the show and taking up the whole class when they already know what the fuck they're doing, hijacking this class. Most of the couples there were first-time parents. Robin says she felt like a senior in high school who had to go back just to take that one last class so she could graduate. And Cody is sure that there are no other plagues in this group in the class. He says Robin has plague radar. She has polygamy radar and she can pick them out from a mile away. Robin introduces herself to the class and she introduces Cody to the class in her fake sweet voice. We all know the one, as if no one there knows who these people are. And she says, I'm Robin and this is Cody and this is our first child together. And Robin says she feels awkward because she knows Cody already has 16 kids and she has 3. Robin says they were the odd couple out. Yes, because together they've had almost 20 kids and they're going to this birthing class for first-time parents just to film. The instructor announces that water is a big deal and the expectant moms need to consume close to a gallon of water a day. Cody wants to show off, so he flashes his Voss water bottle. I don't know, maybe Cody is paid by the brand, but he flashes his water bottle to the whole class and he shows the teacher to show what a good boy he is. The instructor explains that soda doesn't count. And of course, Robin interrupts to feign surprise, the comedian that she is, and she asks, "Oh, really?" sarcastically. One couple laughs, but not every couple is thrilled with Cody and Robin hijacking the show. Not everyone looks amused. Robin makes a big announcement that she's going to drink some water here, and she very demonstratively unscrews the cap of her Voss water bottle. I wonder, is Voss paying Cody and Robin, or are the cameras on them not enough attention that they need to hijack the class to get even more attention? There is a man seated next to Cody and Robin, and when Robin tries to hijack the class with her pathetic jokes and need for attention, the man just glares for a second at her. He side-eyes the fuck out of her. He isn't very impressed by Cody and Robin. The teacher next wants to talk about couples, and she asks the room why they think she would spend so much time talking about relationships with them. Robin, of course, is chomping at the bit to be the teacher's pet and to answer the question first. She says, when you have a baby with someone you don't have a good relationship with, it doesn't go well. Robin mentions that she was in a difficult marriage, and when your partner is not good or you don't have a good relationship with that other person, then it makes this place very, very hard as far as going into labor and having a child. She says in confessional that it's a difficult thing to turn the reins over to Cody and for her to agree to let Cody be her birthing partner. Robin says it's been an emotional process for her to go through this and to realize that she trusts Cody in this place. She says she has never had a strong male figure there to help out with her birth. I wonder at the validity of that because yes, we know she had a rough first marriage, but was her first husband really not there helping her birth their 3 children? We learn that the midwife has cared for other polygamous families, but she has never had someone in polygamy sit in a class and be that vocal about their lifestyle because they have normally been living in the quiet for so long. So she says it's nice that Robin and Cody were there and that Robin spoke up. And the other educator says, if you love each other and your kids and you take care of them and you live your truth, then who gives a crap what anybody else thinks? And she says she would love a sister wife. Next, Cody is taking his family and all 4 of his wives to his hometown of Lovell, Wyoming for their annual celebration, Mustang Days. They're going to be downtown in front of all of these people as open polygamists to watch the parade. And Cody is worried that some of the townspeople are going to be a little upset by it. And then after that, they're going to have a get together with some of Cody's high school friends. And that was really the gem of this episode. Cody hasn't seen those high school friends, some of them in over 20 years. And this is going to be the first time for his high school friends to meet all 4 of his wives. Maddie is super excited to get out of Vegas. She says she's sick of sitting around and she is irritated because her family takes forever whenever they have to go somewhere. Of course, we're talking 4 or 5 cars, like 16 kids, plus Robin's 3 kids, all the wives, all the kids, all the luggage, all the food, all the snacks, all the hobby stuff, all the items, everything you need. It sounds like a fucking nightmare from hell. Cody reveals that he is looking most forward to getting together with his best friend from his childhood, Ken Grant. Cody and Ken were best friends all through middle school and high school. And after high school, he says it's not uncommon for most Mormon or LDS boys to go on a mission. They enter the ministry and then they spend 2 years proselytizing their faith. So preaching to people and trying to convert vulnerable people to their faith. Now, keep in mind that the LDS mainstream Mormonism is different than the FLDS. The LDS do not practice polygamy at all. And the FLDS is an offshoot, and it's a separate religion that continues to practice polygamy. Mainstream Mormonism and FLDS do follow a lot of the same core beliefs. However, the LDS doesn't agree with and practice polygamy. And the LDS also doesn't appreciate the stigma that comes from the FLDS. And they definitely do not condone polygamy. But because they share a lot of the same core beliefs, and because Cody used to be a mainstream Mormon and then he converted to the FLDS, sometimes the religions get lumped together when they are separate religions. Cody and Ken separated after they came back from their missions. Cody came back home and he joined another church. And Ken felt like Cody left the truth. He left their church for another church. Back then, Cody was very frustrated by the things Ken was saying, and he quit associating with Ken because of it. Cody and Ken were estranged for a decade, and then they started doing business together. 8 years ago, they started doing business together, and that healed the relationship a lot. Yes, when you're raking in money together, I'm sure it heals things real fast. Cody is hoping that he and Ken can get back together and that they can get over all of their past stuff, over their religious differences, and move forward, and that they can be friends. Christine says that there are some people in Wyoming who aren't too friendly to polygamists. And we learn it's a 16-hour drive from Vegas to Lovell. Imagine the hell of that. 4 wives, Cody, all their kids, all the luggage, all the stuff, all the fighting, all the are we there yet, all the snacks, all the this, all the that. Oh my God. No way. Basically, what this seems like is Cody wants a filming opportunity, and he also wants to shove his lifestyle down everyone's throats for shock value, for attention, and for a TLC storyline. I can't imagine having a bunch of kids and shoving them in a car for a 16-hour road trip just to go to Mustang Days in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. These people wanted a filming opportunity. And I think Cody knew that some locals might not like him or his lifestyle, and he likes attention, whether negative or positive. And he loves to create a commotion, to go film back where he went to high school, knowing that there are mixed feelings, and he wants to bring cameras to this small town so everyone can look at him, the big star who made it. It seems to me like Cody thinks he is really showing off, like he really made it big. Christine explains how a lot of people in the Mormon culture, that's the LDS, are uncomfortable with polygamists, the FLDS. The root of their religions and beliefs are the same. But she says there are many differences, and polygamy is a big difference to have. I noticed that on this 16-hour drive, by the way, the wives all piled the kids into their cars, and they piled in endless amounts of luggage and snacks to the rafters into their SUVs and into their vans. And Cody was driving his 2-seater luxury convertible at his leisure, all by himself. No kids, no are we there yet, no stress, no noise, no commotion. Cody got a peaceful drive. I wonder if Cody had a nice peaceful drive alone for those 16 hours, or if Robin accompanied him so that all the other wives were saddled with the kids and the noise and the fighting and the are we there yets. Cody got a peaceful drive when he easily could have gotten a ride with one of his wives and their kids to help out with the parenting, but Cody didn't do that. Christine says the town of Lovell, Wyoming is a perfect Norman Rockwell small town. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows everybody's business, whether or not they want it known. Lovell is a very Mormon community, so Christine thinks it's understandable that they might have a problem with them as polygamists. Christine hopes that it goes well. She doesn't think people will be angry at them personally, but she guarantees that some people are not thrilled about them coming. Cody grew up in Wyoming on the Brown family ranch, of course, and his whole family were mainstream Mormons, and they were members of the LDS church. Cody says he was an all-state football player, he was a champion wrestler, he was pretty mainstream, and he went on his mission with the LDS, and when he was away, his parents converted to Mormon fundamentalism. They became polygamists, and it rattled Cody. His parents were excommunicated. They were kicked out of the mainstream Mormon church because, of course, they joined another church. Cody got home from his mission, and he was empathetic to his parents' situation, but his faith was changing, and he was seeing from a different viewpoint. And so soon after he got back from his mission, he ended up joining the same fundamentalist sect that his parents were in. And Cody says he was naive when he changed his faith. He didn't realize at the time the consequences it would have, even with the relationships he had with his friends. It changed all of the relationships he had with his friends. He would see his friends and he would still regard them warmly, and they would give Cody the stink eye. They didn't know who Cody was anymore. They couldn't define him. They felt he was a totally different person to them, and he had now joined a cult in their perception. The Browns are going to go boating with Ken. Cody introduces Ken to all of his 4 wives. Ken is very polite. He's cordial, but he's very cold and unemotional, and you can just tell that Cody adores Ken, and Ken kind of resents Cody, he isn't too crazy about Cody. Cody is definitely more in this relationship. I'll put it that way. If we remember from a later episode I already covered, Christine was mad at Ken for saying to Cody that he needed to divorce 3 wives and go back to the Mormon church for his salvation. And Cody was still insisting on wanting to be up Ken's ass, even though Ken is just not that into Cody. Ken doesn't accept Cody as he is. They have different faiths, but they were friends for a very long time. And a person's faith or belief in God or lack of belief in God, whatever it may be, whether it's different from you or not, should not be a reason you don't want to know them. It looks to me like Ken is really judgy of Cody, and like Ken just tolerates Cody when he has to, but he obviously doesn't respect Cody. I mean, he calls Cody stupid. He says disparaging things about his wives. And still, even after that, Cody was still up Ken's ass wanting to hang out with him. And in a later season, that caused a lot of conflict between Christine and Cody because Christine had wanted an apology. And Cody said, fuck no, I can't do that. It'll emasculate me, even though he should have felt disrespected. And he's the one who's always saying, if you don't respect me, don't bother with the love. That's what he tells his wives. But Ken disrespects him all day long. Ken is a little resentful. Ken is condescending. And Cody is almost apologetic about who he is to Ken, wanting Ken's acceptance. On one hand, I understand that Ken has reservations because in his mind, he feels like Cody is in a cult. Because when you think of FLDS, you think of all the abuse and the fraud and the horrible, evil shit that goes on. And the Warren Jeff stuff and the cult stuff and things like that. And that's how Ken sees it. And then not only have you changed your religion to join what he perceives as a cult, but he's scared that vulnerable people are going to get taken advantage of. Because from Ken's perception, he may not know any better. He might not know what's going on. He probably feels it's a cult. Like maybe it's like the Warren Jeffs type stuff. I just think if you have a friend and you genuinely love them and you've known them for years, whether you've known them for years or not, it doesn't matter what faith that they have or don't have or what they believe. It shouldn't matter at all what they believe or if they believe the same as you. That should have nothing to do at all with any bearing on the friendship. I think that if Ken was really Cody's friend, he really wouldn't care what Cody believes. I would understand maybe being concerned because of the associations with the cult and stuff, like worrying what goes on in Cody's church or having some reservation about maybe what if they convert vulnerable people to become members of their cult, you know, something like that, like having reservations because of that. But Ken seemed to more have reservations because he seemed to be afraid that somehow Cody was going to do some type of Jedi mind trick and explain things about his religion, and that it would be twisting what Ken knows of his religion, since both religions share the same core beliefs, and suddenly that Ken would get confused and he would get convinced that Cody was right. That seemed to be Ken's concern, which I thought was weird. I would be concerned like, oh, I hope my friends are okay. I really hope it's not a cult. I would be worried. I would just want to make sure nothing untoward, nothing evil was going on. And once I knew that if they felt comfortable with that religion, as long as it has, you know, doesn't affect me in any way, and they're not being hurt, and I know that they're safe or that they're doing everything of their own volition, I'm not going to interfere. But I mean, most people in cults don't have friends outside the cult. Ken seems to say that this is about Cody's salvation, like he genuinely believes in his faith and he's concerned about Cody's salvation. And Cody's salvation, if he believes in God, is between him and God, he and God. It has nothing to do with Ken. Ken shouldn't be interfering this much and not invested in this. He has his own feelings about his religion. He has his own feelings about the afterlife and where Cody might end up. And that's his thing. But ultimately, Cody's salvation is between Cody and God, if he believes in God. It's not up to Ken. And if Ken is really Cody's friend, he shouldn't judge what Cody does. He shouldn't call him stupid. He shouldn't try to advise Cody on what Cody should do in his life. It's between Cody and God. I felt like, you know, Ken was a little disrespectful. He kind of did cross boundaries a little bit. And it's very obvious that Cody is desperate for Ken to love and accept him at all costs. He's very into Ken, and Ken really just isn't that into Cody. I can't say that enough. He's not into Cody at all. Yet Cody cowers to Ken. Cody accepts Ken's disrespect over and over and over. Cody allows this man to cross every boundary of respect there is. Later, he even tells him he should divorce his wives in a later season. And Cody just cowers. He explains it away. He is just desperate for Ken to accept him, and it's pathetic and sad. Cody is making excuses for why Ken is very dickish with him. Now, let's remember and contrast the way Cody treats all of his wives. How he demands respect, how it's a patriarchy. If you can't bother with the respect, don't bother with the love, right? I know I'm like a broken record, but just watching his dynamic between him and other women, him and his wives, he and his wives, and Ken and Cody and other men, it's very interesting how with men, Cody takes a more submissive role, but with the women, he wants to be the leader. He wants a patriarchy. Ken doesn't respect Cody as he is. He doesn't accept Cody as he is. He disparages Cody. He disparages his wives. And Cody keeps loving him and ignoring it, desperate for acceptance. Cody just keeps kissing his ass and cowering to him, the self-proclaimed alpha male. It's very interesting, just so interesting to me, how Cody demands respect from his women. But when it comes to men, they can treat him like he is their chew toy. And Cody is still cowering, bending, forgiving, kissing that ass. Cody says that Ken may not be very demonstrative. And so that natural affection that friends have for each other is strained. So that's Cody's excuse for Ken's lack of enthusiasm at seeing him after a decade, after so long. That's the cold reaction Ken gave. And Cody wants to explain why Ken didn't look excited. Cody says that it's not natural for Ken to jump up and give Cody a big bear hug. They're like in their 40s, 40-year-old men hugging each other, giving them bear hugs. Like it seems weird. Like you have wives and families and just go bear hug someone you had a tense relationship with that you haven't seen in decades. I don't know that I'd want to hug them. So Ken isn't one to say that he missed Cody like crazy. Cody says that's because Ken is still going, I don't even know who you are, man. Cody wants to show off. He wants to reminisce about his high school days. And he says he got in more trouble with Ken than he ever has since or before. He says they have a reputation in Level, Cody and Ken, and he says people talk about it, so they have notoriety. Ken says with Cody's influence, it happened that way. And Cody is super happy, grinning ear to ear, happy to take the credit for the supposed mischief they got into. Finally, Cody gets to be the bad boy, the alpha male of Lovell, Wyoming, who everyone thought was flamboyantly gay back in high school. Cody's perception of himself seems to always have been so different from how others perceived him, even when he was younger, a teenager or a child. So Ken and Cody and the family and everything get to the lake where they're going to go boating. And Cody got all the food to the picnic tables as Ken got the boats in the water. And Cody says he wasn't sure what the plan was. He wasn't sure what they were doing, but he was just doing something by getting the food to the tables. He was being productive. It seems to me like Cody definitely wanted to let Ken take the lead. And of course, they were going boating. It was his boats. It was his turf. So of course, Ken is going to take the lead. And Cody didn't know what the plan was, so he just decided he might as well get the food to the tables. But Ken seemed to know exactly what was going on. He knew what he was supposed to do. He knew what was going on. He didn't seem like a fish out of water. Between Ken and Cody, if we were to pick an alpha male, not that I think either of them is an alpha male, but if we had to pick one that said, I guess this guy seems more like the alpha male, I would probably pick Ken. So just as everyone wants to go boating, there's a thunderstorm coming, so they're going to eat first. So Ken is getting the boats ready, and he complains that he doesn't know where Cody is. And he says, but with 3 wives, and then he corrects himself to 4 wives. And he says with 4 wives, he guesses Cody can get busy and distracted, so he doesn't know where Cody is. And Cody has got him doing all the hard work today. So, of course, Ken expected that Cody was going to probably give him a hand. He's brought 3 boats out, and Cody is sitting there just bringing the food to the tables, hanging out with his kids and his wives, not helping his friend who went way out of his way. Even though he is being a little dickish and a little bit of an asshole, he did go out of his way to be very gracious, to take all of their family, like 16 kids, 4 wives, plus his brothers and their wives and the wife's sister and the cousin and this and that. So he was being very gracious and having this nice thing for Cody and his family. Cody should have helped him with the boats. So eventually Cody goes to find out where Ken is at and what's going on. Cody is really concerned about the rain and tells cameras Cody hasn't changed a bit since high school. He is the same Cody, and Ken says Cody likes the limelight, and it's no surprise that Cody went public with his lifestyle. Ken is ready to take everyone out on the boats. He wants everyone to squeeze in, but it's about to rain. Some of the wives are freaking out. Christina's a little worried. Janelle is definitely worried about thunder and rain in the boats and whatever, you know. And we know Christine doesn't have a toaster in her house because she thinks there are more deaths from toasters than sharks. She said that in season 1, yet she was making toast in the oven, if we remember, and she burnt the toast, and she could have damn near burnt the house down. So that was funny. So of course, yeah, they're going to be concerned about rain and lightning and thunderstorms on the water. So Christine wants everyone to eat lunch first and come back. Logan also wants to eat first. And Cody asks Robin if lightning and water scares her, if she's frightened. And she says, not really. And Cody says it doesn't scare her either, but it scares Janelle. And Janelle reveals that as a child, she was terrified of thunderstorms. Even as an adult, cloud to ground lightning terrifies Janelle. She says, by the water, it's 10 times worse. And she thought that it was extremely stupid to go boating when the lightning was in the sky because they might get all crispy. And she says, the lightning will strike the boat and then they will all be dead. That is what she fears. I feel like Janelle has a dark side. Ken introduces Cody to his brothers and their wives. And a wife of one of Cody's brothers is cousins with the wife of another brother. And Cody comments, wow, keeping it all in the family. And Ken quips back that it's a little different than what Cody is doing. Now, obviously we know that Janelle's mom married Cody's dad. Everyone in the FLDS intermarries, so it's a very small gene pool, and everyone is related in one way or another. It's a very small community. Christine says that she likes Ken enough, but it's not like Ken is open or very warm or inviting. So Christine was very surprised to see Ken's family there. And she says his family were so open and so inviting. Ken's family was so friendly with them. Eventually the sun breaks through and Ken is going to get the boats ready to go out. And he jokes that he'll whistle to alert everyone when it's time for them to go to the boats. And Cody's wives ask if Ken is serious. But let's remember that Cody actually whistles at his wives as if they are dogs. Remember in a later season when the wives are talking for too long to the surveyor on Coyote Pass and they're possibly asking him intelligent questions and Cody is impatient and Cody is angry and Cody is annoyed. He wants to go and get a move on. So he whistles to his wives to summon them. The way one would whistle at a dog to try and force them to move on. Chop, chop. It was incredibly disrespectful and condescending. The wives of Ken and his brothers really want to see the wives' claddagh rings, and Robin has a ring on, so she shows them. And Robin explains that the ring means love, loyalty, and friendship. Robin says women are always curious and they want to ask them lots of questions because they just can't wrap their heads around why the women want to live polygamy, why the women want to share a husband, why the women want to have sister wives. They just don't get it. One wife asks if Cody just goes from house to house, and Christine says Cody hates it. And they want to know how Cody decides which house to stay at. And they explain that it's a rotation. Robin says they don't sweat it, it's very fluid. Janelle mentions the rotation isn't set in stone. Christine says almost nothing. Let's remember the rotation isn't fluid all the time, and it's not always a rotation or fair and equal by this point in Vegas. We have Christine last episode saying that Cody isn't spending equal time everywhere, and he is spending the majority of his time and investment at Robin's house. So Robin is saying it's a rotation, it's fluid, they don't sweat it, everything's great. And Janelle is mentioning it's not set in stone. And Christine complained already last episode that Cody wasn't doing equal time and that most of his time and attention was focused on Robin and him being at Robin's house. So it's interesting how Robin, the favorite wife, has become Cody's PR person, already saying, it's fluid, it's no big deal, oh, it's a rotation, we all don't sweat it, when Christine already revealed it's not equal. He is at Robin's a lot. And Janelle mentions the rotation isn't set in stone. And she has mentioned being displeased with the amount of time Cody is there as well. So already the wives are giving different experiences about this. For Janelle and Christine, it's not equal and it's not set in stone. For Christine, he isn't there an equal amount of time. He spends a disproportionate amount of time at Robin's house. And we have Robin saying, oh, we don't sweat it. Everything's great. It's a rotation. It's fluid. Maybe she doesn't sweat it because most of Cody's time is already spent with her. But it is already a big issue for Christine and Janelle, and this is early on in Vegas. Christine tells the women that they don't know what it's like having their husband gone 3 out of 4 nights. One wife concedes that it would be nice, and Janelle says there is a lot of freedom. She has a lot of freedom, and she gets to do what she wants to do. One of the women asks if it's 1 night at a time that Cody rotates, and Robin just answers usually, not a yes or a no, just usually, because probably she knows usually he might spend extra time at her place, in my opinion. They ask, so Cody just packs a duffel bag? The PR person, Robin, says Cody likes to have the duffel bag just in case because he has stuff at every single house. And we know from a recent episode that Christine said she hates the duffel bag. Christine says what she gets all the time from fans is, I think you're great, but I don't know how you do it. Christine says that she wants to start asking women what they mean when they say that, because she honestly doesn't know what part of it they don't know how she does, because she feels like responding, I don't know how you do it, to these monogamous women. And Janelle explains to the wives, because they ask if she's a stay-at-home mom, that she intends to have a full-time job. She has always worked since she was 15. She likes to work. She likes to be busy, so she isn't a stay-at-home mom. And Janelle says it's been good to be in Vegas to have a little more flexibility with her schedule, and she's a mom first. The women explained that maybe that would be the handy part of having sister wives. Relying on your sister wives so that you can have more flexibility. Robin says that ultimately a monogamous marriage isn't really that different from a polygamous marriage. There are just more pieces. Do most monogamous women have to contend with their man sleeping with a different woman every night and the jealousy of having a favorite or giving one wife more attention or this or that? And does a monogamous man have to deal with meeting the needs and expectations of 4 different wives and all of their kids? It's not just like a monogamous marriage. Cody says that they all have a relationship, the 5 of them, and all the sister wives, every 2 of them have a relationship, and every sister wife and Cody, they all have these relationships. Each of them has an intricate, detailed network of relationships within their marriage. Cody says that he has a monogamous relationship with each one of his wives, and they all work at it. Cody didn't want to go to level alone because he wanted the opportunity to be able to do something with all of his wives. And he wanted to be able to be recognized as a family with those peers to say, this is me. Didn't he already say that season 1, episode 1 of his reality show? How many times would he like to announce it? The kids have a lot of fun boating. They're inner tubing, they're cliff jumping. It looks like a lot of fun. When the family is done boating, Ken suggests that he and Cody take the boat out alone so they can talk and they can get rowdy in the boat, with it just being the 2 alpha males playing on the water with their boat. Cody says when he was 20 years younger, Ken's reaction to his choices offended him, but Cody sees it differently now. Cody sees a way to bridge this gap in their religions and let it go and move forward. Cody says if he was in Ken's shoes and he had the same situation happen where his best friend left his faith to do something else, he might get defensive too. Ken tells Cody that they grew up in the LDS church together, and he was completely clueless that Cody was merging into this fundamental thing. Cody says he did this because his mom had a testimony and Cody bought it. He believed his mom's testimony and he felt the call. Ken says that he remembers when they first became polygamous, it was a big shock to the town. And Ken thinks one of the things that made them nervous is there was some active proselytizing going on. So they were preaching and trying to convert people. Cody's family and the other family involved were sharing their ideas with some of the people in the town, trying to convert them to their new faith. Cody's mom was best friends with Ken's mom. And so Cody's mom shared a lot of her thoughts with Ken's mom, and Ken's mom tried to talk Cody's mom out of this. And ultimately, both women who were friends went their separate ways over their religious differences. It looks to me like the problem wasn't just that Cody's family switched faiths, but they were like shoving their faith, which people perceive to be a cult, and they associate it with a lot of negative stuff that happens on the FLDS compounds, that evil stuff that happens. And so they don't like the idea that people are preaching to them, trying to indoctrinate them and bring them into what they perceive as a cult. So that's probably what the issue is, that they were preaching, not only that they picked a different religion, but that they were trying to actively shove it down everyone's throats, is what it seems like. One thing to switch your faith and respect people enough to have their faith without preaching to them or trying to convert them to your faith. I doubt anyone would care too much if they switched faiths and then they didn't bring up their religion to everyone they saw trying to convert them. I don't think people would mind that much. I think that the intolerance or the issues come when they're sitting there and people perceive this as a cult, and they hear about the terrible things that happen on the compounds and how horrible it is. They associate this newfound faith with a cult, with something they consider a big sin. And these new members of what they consider a cult not only left their faith, but now they're trying to influence other people to drink the Kool-Aid too. And I think that's where the issue is. Now, if Ken preaches about his Mormon religion, he should have no problem with Cody or anyone preaching about his religion. But I think because he perceives it as a cult and he feels like these evil things go on, like you see on the compounds associated with the FLDS cults and the Warren Jeffs stuff, he associates it as the exact same thing, and he's probably scared that they're influencing vulnerable people and he probably feels threatened by that. I think if it was any other religion and it wasn't associated with a cult, it may have been less of an issue for Ken. And Ken does later say that if it was any other religion, he wouldn't feel so bad about it, but he feels like somehow Cody's going to manipulate him or trick him or twist the faith that he knows, the Mormon faith, because they have a lot of the same principles, the LDS and the FLDS, except the FLDS practice polygamy and a few other things. And so now Ken is afraid that Cody's going to twist the religion and somehow manipulate him, and suddenly he'll start believing the way Cody does. Obviously, that's a crock of shit. I think what the case is that Ken is concerned because he associates it with a cult, and he knows sometimes nefarious activity goes on those compounds, and he's not 100% sure about Cody's church or which church is part of what, and he doesn't want to have anyone that he knows or anyone from his town getting influenced to join some type of cult thing or getting themselves in a bad situation. I think that's what it is more than anything. I think it's good to hear other ideas and beliefs that you don't necessarily believe yourself or that you don't necessarily agree with. And it's good to accept a person as they are without being offended that their ideas don't jive with yours. I think that the issue is that Cody's family was really trying to preach and convert maybe, and they probably didn't have the respect to say, well, we converted and we know you are still the religion that we used to be, and I will accept you, you accept me, and I'm not going to try to convert you or change your beliefs, and I don't expect you to try and change my beliefs. Let's respect that we believe differently. I think both sides seem to have a problem with that. Cody explains to Ken that the preaching that his parents were perceived as doing was really just their enthusiasm. Cody thinks that the enthusiasm when his parents first joined their faith was very strong. They were very enthused about it. They were very excited about it. And Cody understands that any enthusiasm that his parents had might seem like they were proselytizing, like they were preaching, like they were trying to convert people. And Cody says it's a lonely world. When Cody converted to this sect of fundamentalist Mormonism, he lost all of the friends he grew up with and all of his mainstream Mormon friends. So, of course, I'm sure he misses his friends. And Ken says that he remembers a time when Cody said he wishes he could be back in the LDS church. Cody made that comment to Ken. And Cody says it was for the social aspect of it and the idea of having the camaraderie that he used to have with his old friends. And Ken tells Cody that the LDS church gets a bad rap because of the situation Cody is in. And people out there want to pull the LDS and the FLDS into one group. There seems to be a lot of resentment between the LDS and the FLDS. And the FLDS puts a huge stigma on the LDS already. And then Cody is coming out as a public polygamist, having this reality show. And the thing is, he grew up Mormon. He talks about growing up Mormon. And then when he got back from his mission, he converted to this FLDS. And so people get confused and they think Mormons do polygamy, but it's FLDS, fundamentalist Mormons, and not the mainstream Mormons that do polygamy. And the mainstream Mormons think that that's a huge sin. They don't practice polygamy at all. They disavow it completely. So it attaches a stigma to Mormonism. And then because Cody grew up in the mainstream LDS, it creates further confusion because he converted to FLDS to practice polygamy. So Ken seems very resentful. And he probably feels a little hurt and a little betrayed. This is someone he grew up with since middle school. They served in the church together. They were close, and then all of a sudden, not only does Cody switch his religion, but he switches his religion to a religion that is a cult or that he perceives as a cult. That's like the worst religion you can pick if you're LDS because they really don't agree with polygamy. They're very resentful of the FLDS. They feel it makes them look bad. It's bad for them. It's bad for their religion. It's bad for their image. So Ken probably harbors a lot of extra resentment towards Cody because he's a part of the problem, or what he views as a problem for his faith and the stigma on his faith. And he sees Cody as like almost going to the enemy. To him, it feels like a betrayal because he's so involved with his religion probably. Ken tells Cody that he was a Mormon and then he got excommunicated, but he says Cody still has a connection, so people try to pull it together because Cody used to be a Mormon and now he has 4 wives. So people try to lump it together, the LDS and the FLDS. Like Cody is a Mormon and Mormons still do polygamy, when Mormons do not do polygamy at all and they don't believe in polygamy. It's a huge sin. And Ken is saying Mormons don't do polygamy, and people assume that Mormons do polygamy because Cody used to be a Mormon, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And it frustrates him. Cody explains that Ken has to deal with people wondering if Mormons do polygamy. So then Ken has to dispel myths and rumors himself about his Mormon faith. So it becomes a frustration to Ken. So it's important to him that he makes a significant distinction between their 2 faiths. Ken wants the distinction because he wants that separation, and he has dealt with prejudice because of it. So the LDS church seems to really resent the FLDS, especially because of polygamy. That's a huge sin to the LDS. And there's a stigma put on the LDS, and the FLDS sometimes gets lumped in with the LDS. The LDS don't practice polygamy, but people don't understand that there are 2 different religions. And we know that there is a lot of resentment and bad blood between the LDS church and the FLDS, because McKelty tried to join the LDS and she was rejected because her parents were polygamists, even though she herself wanted to be in the Mormon church. I mean, I thought that was really rough. I'm not a Mormon, so I don't know how it works, but I thought that was really rough. McKelty should be judged on her own merits. She did the religious classes. I believe her husband is of that religion. She genuinely in her heart wants to be of that faith, and she goes to join and they won't allow her because of who her parents are. That doesn't seem very godly. Ken tells Cody that they never discussed the spiritual doctrine that convinced Cody to change faiths, and Ken has never asked Cody about it because he doesn't want to hear it. And Cody is good with that. He says he just wants to be friends with Ken. Cody tells Ken he can ask him all the dumb questions though, even though he doesn't want to hear the doctrine. And Ken says he can harass and tease Cody all day long, but he doesn't want to hear the doctrine behind Cody's choice. Cody says no. Other than that, they all want to know that he followed his heart when choosing polygamy. I really don't think Ken cares what Cody did this for or why Cody did this or if his heart was in it. I don't think Ken gives a fuck. You can clearly tell that Ken resents Cody. He resents that Cody chose this. He thinks Cody is stupid. He flat out says it. He says, I don't know what you're thinking. You're stupid. It's stupid. He says it more than once. I think Cody cares way more about Ken than Ken cares about him. And Cody values Ken way more than Ken values him. Ken doesn't really seem to like Cody or accept Cody as he is, as a person, as a friend who just happens to believe differently than he does. Ken says he hopes Cody followed his heart if he made such a crazy decision. So Cody's decision to become a polygamist and convert to the FLDS is crazy. It's stupid. He says a lot of disparaging things about it. Says he doesn't have to justify it. He says he can just say, this is me, take me as I am. And Cody says this is where the problem lies for he and Ken. Their faiths, their beliefs, their religions are everything to both of them. I wonder if Cody and Ken will now get closer, because Cody technically only has one wife, and that's Robin. And Ken was texting Cody saying, divorce 3 of your wives, keep one wife, and come rejoin the church. I wonder, would Cody rejoin the church? Would Ken and Cody get closer as a result of Cody's monogamy? Ken has organized a reunion with Cody's old classmates from high school. The wonderful friend he is, he organized this for Cody. Cody asks how the town will react, and Ken says when Cody comes back to his hometown, it will be his most difficult audience. Cody lets Ken know he is so proud of Ken for doing this, for organizing this high school reunion, for hanging out with him. He is just so proud of Ken. He is so proud of this man, praising this man that disrespects him and treats him shitty. Now Cody and his family are back in Level in the heart of town for Mustang Days. It's Cody's first time back openly as a polygamist with his whole family, even though everybody already knew about it, he admits. Cody says now he and his family are back to the whole thing months ago where Cody said, take us or leave us. This is who we are in the past when they came out as polygamists when the show first came out. Cody says in the past, anytime they went to a parade, he would go with his wives, but not go with them. He talked with them, but he would be 10 feet away from them because they didn't want to embarrass anybody around them by Cody walking with an arm around each one of his wives. Robin says a guy with his arms around two women has a very salacious connotation. But for them, it's not like that. Not at all. They have relationships, they have marriages, they have made commitments to each other. Mary says the relationships they have are very special and very sacred relationships. And so they don't want to throw it out there. Cody says, well, you've got the scarlet P on your shoulder and you just don't know who will ostracize you or not. Cody asks his mom what the reaction of the townspeople will be with them going public and what it has been with them going public. And she has had people comment, but she admits not favorably. Janelle says they aren't too sure what to think. She says this is going to be difficult. It's going to be different. Janelle says it took a lot for her to go to the public. She had to believe in what they were doing because Janelle says she hates to be the center of attention. Christine says there have been people in the past that she had interactions with here in Level that have really made it known that they do not like the polygamous culture. Robin feels like this is going to be a huge gamble. Janelle says it was nerve-wracking for her to go into this environment where she knew everybody would be looking, everyone would be staring. There were some local Level residents that reminded me of Steel Magnolias. They say the Browns are good people, but they just have the wrong ideas. As the Browns are setting up their spot for the parade with the cameras following them, you can see some of the townspeople glaring at them and side-eyeing them. Some townspeople are very nice too, but there are a few that are just have negative vibes towards them. Why did these people drive 16 hours to go to some small town parade where Cody knows some of the people, a lot of the people aren't too crazy about them and he wants to bring cameras? Cody did this because he wants to film. He wants a filming opportunity. He wants a storyline and he wants to shove his family and polygamy down the throats of everyone in his hometown. And he wants to bring cameras knowing he might not be well received just for a storyline and to showboat and for his ego. They are now invading this town knowing they aren't all going to be a crowd pleaser. They're wanting to come in with cameras and production and a crew to this very small town. And they're making this really big spectacle. And Cody complains that he's worried about how his reception will be. But I secretly think he loves this. He loves any type of attention and any type of reaction, whether it's positive or negative, as long as he is getting seen and he is getting all of the attention on him. And his ego just loves this. The local barbecue guy from Hog Heaven asks cameras, who does he stay with at night? Who does he sleep with? He wonders, how do you work that out? He says it's a legitimate question and the jealousy has to set in. He doesn't see how this would possibly work out. Another resident says Cody can live his life and he can live his. Another lady says the Browns, representing Lovell as their hometown, gives people the idea that polygamy is okay in Lovell, or that polygamy was born in Lovell, and that's not how the town is at all. She really wants to make that clear. Cody says he really believed that he would someday be a polygamist. Even when he was on his LDS mission, he didn't know how he would be a polygamist, but he believed that there was something about it. He doesn't know. He just had stirrings, spiritual stirrings. Cody really doesn't know how to describe these stirrings. So very soon after his mission, he just ended up joining the fundamentalist sect that his parents were in, and it was a spiritual transformation for him. Could it possibly be that on his mission, his parents called him or wrote to him and said, hey man, hey son, we're leaving the mainstream Mormon church. We're going to join this fundamentalist sect and we're going to practice polygamy. And then he started thinking, oh, I better join my parents' religion. Oh, maybe I want to be a polygamist. Is that maybe when the stirrings started kicking in and he really started feeling them? So he had this spiritual transformation and all of these spiritual stirrings, and he fell in love with Mary, and they had a wonderful experience investigating this faith together. Mary grew up in the faith, of course. Mary and her family were facilitating Cody's experience with the faith a little bit, Cody says. Mary met Cody through his sister, she says. She introduced them, and Cody was not at that time a member of their church yet. Mary says Cody was still LDS when he met her, and Mary says up until that time in her life, she was still trying to figure out where she was as far as wondering if she wanted polygamy for a lifestyle for herself or if she wanted to remain in the church. She was pretty sure she wanted to stay in her church, but then she met Cody and he was still in the LDS church, so Mary wasn't sure where Cody was. She wasn't sure. Was he staying in the LDS church? Did he want to join the FLDS church and become a polygamist? Mary didn't know. Now, in the book, Mary recounts meeting Cody a little differently. She says it was interesting getting to know Cody and discovering together that they wanted this. They wanted to be a part of this polygamous church. So I want to point out that in Becoming Sister Wives, Mary recounts first meeting Cody at church. Then after that, through his sister, she saw Cody again. But here in this episode, Mary says Cody's sister introduced them. Yet, in Becoming Sister Wives, according to Mary, their eyes met at church, she and Cody, and someone from church introduced them. This is what Mary writes in Becoming Sister Wives. I first noticed Cody at church. Our church group is quite close-knit and has been together a long time, so any new face really stands out. He caught my eye, and I believe I caught his. Someone introduced us, but beyond a brief hello, I don't think we said a word to each other. I was 18 and I'd never been courted by a guy before. Shoot, I was so quiet that I'd probably never even been noticed by a guy before. So nothing of a romantic nature crossed my mind during that first meeting. That summer, I attended a camp for girls of our faith. One of my fellow campers, a girl named Christy, this would be Cody's sister, was here from out of state, and she had a photo of her brother who was attending our church in Utah. When she showed it to me, I immediately recognized Cody. A few months after camp ended, Christy came back to Utah from her home in Wyoming to attend a wedding. She invited me over to the house where she was staying. I walked in the door and there was Cody sitting on the couch. He said, "Hi, Mary. You're the Mary my sister is always talking about." I was shocked that he knew my name. That's so silly. Oh, I saw him in church. our eyes met, someone introduced us, and then I randomly went to a summer camp for girls for our church where all the girls from this age to this age go. And she just happened to be there, his sister, and oh, she had his picture and I recognized him. And then she went to a wedding and I went to her house and oh my God, he was there. Oh, it's so like... It's ridiculous. It's like a freaking puritanical John Hughes movie. So next on the confessional couch, Robin thanks Mary for converting Cody. Mary says she was whooped because Cody was really cute at the time. So she figured, okay, if she has to have sister wives to get this cute guy, she guesses she will do it. Vomit in my mouth. I'll let 3 other women bang my husband. No problem. He's really cute. I'll do it. I'll live that way. I'll have myself suffer so I could have this cute guy. That was like gross. Next, Cody and his wives are headed to the High Art Theater downtown to meet up with Cody's old high school friends. This is probably the best part of the episode. Cody says many of his peers would see polygamists or his new faith or Cody even, and they would feel like they don't know him anymore. They can't define him, so they can only define him by the stereotypes they understand. So essentially to them, Cody is a bad dude. He is an evil doer. Christine was excited to go and meet some of Cody's old girlfriends. She wanted to know what they would be like and what they think of Cody now. She wants to know, do they still find Cody attractive? I doubt the girls were falling all over Cody. Cody is nervous going into this reunion because he doesn't know what it will be like. Cody thinks that most of his peers knew he was a polygamist already. So to actually have this experience where he is now public, he's a public polygamist, and the whole world knows, and not just his little community with a whisper, wink, nod. Now they all really know. And Cody introduces his friends to all of his wives. Paul is Cody's friend from high school. They supposedly have tons of water under the bridge. And Paul has a t-shirt on that says, I'm right 97% of the time. Who cares about the other 4%? There's an older lady holding a dog. She introduces herself to Cody, and she informs Cody that she knew his dad. She used to date him. Wynn must have really been quite the looker and a ladies' man for sure. Like, women in general seem really into him. He roped in Janelle's mom. He dated this other lady from town, and it's so memorable in her mind that she wants to tell Cody about it. How many other women did he date? Like, he must have really been popular with the women. Cody explains that he changed his faith and he changed his church, and his friends from Lovell, his peers that he grew up with, are no longer able to define him. They see him as this guy who is a member of this fundamentalist cult now. It's what they might call it, a cult. And Cody says there are probably some things that they are not understanding, that they are not understanding Cody's religion. They're not understanding it. And it's put a big rift. It's put this huge separation between them. And it's caused this disassociation, all because his friends don't understand some things about his faith. So because Cody's friends perceive that he joined a cult, they disassociate with him, or there's a distance between them. Cody reminisces. He tells his friends he remembers memories with all of them in this theater, the very theater, the High Art Theater they are sitting in now. Ken asks Cody if Cody ever had an arm around a girl or two at the same time. Cody says never 2 girls, and Ken says he did, but he got that out of his mind early. Cody's friend Janae says Cody painted her headlights black, so when she would try to go to work, her car would be sabotaged. One friend says she thinks it was Cody's way of trying to get her attention. And Janae says she just thought that Cody was the dorky boy trying to be the center of attention all of the time. And that's why he used to behave that way and do these weird things. Another classmate, Megan, agrees, yes, Cody was the dorky boy trying to be the center of attention all the time. Cody asks if Janae remembers the play that they were in together where Cody had to hug her. And Janae says for her, it was torture. Cody tells Janae that the crush started then when he had to hug her. Janae had no idea that Cody had a crush on her. And in fact, she was shocked by it. Cody says he was crushing on Janae since he was a junior. Cody tells Janae that she dodged a bullet, and Janae lets him know he dodged a bullet too. Megan, another classmate, reveals that she went on an official date with Cody, the Cody Brown. They went to Billings, and she asked Cody if he remembers his arm around her and rubbing some spot on her arm. And he apparently did it over and over and over. And she recalls it. So it must have been creepy AF if she still remembers this decades later. Megan says Cody kept rubbing this spot on her arm for forever. And Cody says he and Megan were platonic. And Cody tells Megan she knew that she was the date he would go on in order to convince his parents that he wasn't going steady with another girl. Cody says it worked. He says he and Megan were dear friends. And Megan jokes that Cody used her. I don't think Cody used her. I think Cody was insulted because she was calling out his awkward behavior and that he was a dork and that he was socially awkward in high school. And that didn't jive what he already told us, that he was a star athlete, that he was a wrestler, championship wrestler, and a football player, and this and that. And what his friends are revealing doesn't jive with what he revealed about his perception of how he was in high school. And he probably feels embarrassed and ashamed that Megan is calling out his weird behavior when he took her on a date. So he wants to say, oh, I only dated you so my parents didn't know who I was actually dating. Cody says that friends who are just friends go on dates all the time. Apparently, Megan never knew Cody's true motive for going out with her. I think Cody was probably actually interested in Megan in high school, and when she called him out for being awkward during the high school reunion, he was embarrassed by it. So then he said that they were just friends and that he used her to throw off the scent of his actual girlfriend for his parents. It was Cody's way to save face, I think, because he was embarrassed. It was his way to build up his ego while putting Megan down for calling out his weird and awkward behavior, calling him a dork and such. Basically, his friends are remembering that Cody was a socially awkward dork in high school who acted weird to get attention, who would always stop at nothing to get attention and be in the limelight. It's kind of psycho, by the way, to have a crush on a girl and fuck up her car in a major way because you like her and to get attention. It feels almost sociopathic, just allegedly, in my opinion. It's weird to go that far. Cody seems to have always been very weird socially and like he had no self-awareness. And it seems like he always had a lust for the limelight as well. And those things carried on from high school well into adulthood, apparently. The lack of self-awareness, being weird socially, a lust for the limelight. It's very interesting to me how Cody describes himself as an all-state football player, a championship wrestler, a mainstream guy. Those are his words this episode describing himself in high school. That's his perception of himself in high school. And his high school friends remember Cody differently. They saw him differently as the dorky boy trying to get attention all the time. So it seems like Cody has never perceived himself as he actually was or how others perceived him. And he always must have lacked self-awareness as well. Cody probably feels humiliated, so he brings up the polygamy thing now. And he asks, so you guys are probably wondering, What the crap? Why? Like, why he chose polygamy. Ken interjects that they all grew up with Cody and they thought he had the same beliefs they did, and it turns out that Cody took a different direction that surprised them all. They were all clueless. They were surprised by Cody's decision to live polygamy. Jackie, a classmate, says, for those of them who are raised with Cody, polygamy is a foreign concept, regardless of what your theological belief is. And the fact that Cody chose to have more than one spouse because they know him as Cody Brown and they grew up with him, and that's how they knew him their entire lives, it was a lot for them. It was surreal for them. So for Jackie, personally, it's very surreal. He says all of the babies and everything, it's really just surreal. And Ken says that he and Cody always got along through high school. They were great friends. But shortly after Cody got home from his mission, Ken had heard things about his family. So he assumed Cody would be involved in their faith when he returned from his mission. But Ken didn't know for sure if Cody was going to live polygamy. Ken says the fact that he thought Cody would probably become a polygamist brought in a lot of friction. Cody acknowledges it seems crazy. He knows it seems crazy. And if he had been in Ken's shoes, he would have thought the same thing, the way Ken is thinking about it. And Ken reveals he didn't take it personally. He just thought Cody was stupid and he couldn't figure out what was going on in Cody's head. It made no sense to him how Cody could do such a thing as switch faiths and as living polygamy. Cody says he doesn't want to go there anymore. He doesn't want to sit and bear his testimony to all of them or explain why he believes this way. Robin interjects that Cody just wants to be their friends. Janae says when she found out about Cody becoming a polygamist, she saw it as a built-in way for Cody to be the center of attention at all times. And she points out that is exactly what Cody has always been. Janae thinks it was about Cody always wanting to be the center of attention, and how can he not be, she says, with 4 wives and 16 kids. Ken says it's always a joke when people talk about him. When people talk to Ken about Cody, they will say stuff to Ken because they knew that he and Cody were best friends growing up. And they will bring up sex as Cody's reason for living polygamy because it's how they relate to it, because they have no other way to relate to why Cody would do such a thing as living polygamy or changing his faith. Robin says when people assume that Cody is living this life because of sexual gratification, it makes her angry because they don't understand who Cody is, and these are very special relationships to all of them. They all chose this. They all know that's not what it's about. Obviously, for Cody, honestly, I don't think it's about sex. He didn't want to have sex with Christine. He stopped having sex with Mary over a decade ago. I don't know what happens with Janelle, and it's not my business. We only know what Mary recounts of her intimacy with Cody and what Christine recounts. We don't know anything else, but I really don't think it has anything to do with sex for Cody. That's not for all polygamists. I think there are a lot of polygamists who do it for sex, but I think with Cody in his specific situation, just him, that his primary motivator isn't just sex, or his primary reason for living polygamy. It's not about sex, I don't think. Robin says sex is cheap and wives are not. She says Cody is a very moral man and they're all moral women. Now, I could rip that apart all day as far as her being a moral woman or Cody being a moral man. I'm not going to speak on Mary, Christine, and Janelle and their morals. I'm not going to go there because I don't have anything to say about that. But I could talk all day long about some of Robin's questionable morals and her behaviors that don't match up with having good morals. And I could speak all day on Cody's morals and his behaviors and actions that don't speak highly to him having good morals or high morals at all. Like, for example, skipping Isabel's surgery, the way he treated Christine, the way he neglects his kids, forgetting Gabe's birthday. I could go on and on about Cody and his morals. Megan explains that she didn't know Cody was a polygamist as early on as all of his other friends from high school, but she knew if anybody could pull this off, it would be Cody, to bring it out in a more public way. Megan says, at the end of the day, what Cody does and how he lives his life, does it really matter to anybody else? Christine says sometimes it does. And Ken says it does matter, because if they cared about Cody growing up and now they feel like he has made a decision that will eternally affect him forever, Megan interjects here that these are Cody's decisions and Cody's choices that Cody makes. And Ken acknowledges he knows that, but he feels it still hurts them. Ken says if they care about Cody, they care about him eternally, and they personally feel Cody has an issue come Judgment Day. Megan feels that's Cody's issue. It's not their issue. Ken feels bad about it. And Paul says when you love somebody, you feel bad. Ken says if Cody goes to hell, then so be it. It's not my problem. Cody explains that the issue for Ken is that he joined a different faith, and it's tough for Ken. And out of Ken's own empathy for Cody's salvation of his soul, it's hard for Ken to accept that Cody has made this choice. Right, because Ken believes his religion is right, and he believes that's it. If Cody lives polygamy, if Cody doesn't go back to the Mormon faith, he will go to hell. And for Ken, just as indoctrinated as Cody is in his faith to do polygamy and live a plural marriage and marry 4 women, Ken is as indoctrinated in his Mormon faith, and he believes Cody will go to hell. Polygamy is a huge sin. Cody is definitely going to burn in the fires of hell for living this way. So Cody understands Ken's mindset because he grew up in Ken's religion, and he understands that Ken spiritually has an issue with it because he knows his friend is going to hell and he doesn't want to see his friend go to hell. So he really grapples with it and he struggles with it. So it's very hard for Ken to accept that Cody made his choice. But if Ken loves Cody as a friend, he will respect that they believe differently and that it's between Cody and God. And Ken has no right to keep bringing it up and putting it on Cody's head and preaching to him and trying to convert him. I think that crosses a boundary of disrespect. Ken tells Cody that it's stupid, that Cody is stupid. This is just stupid Cody. And he says it brought in an uncomfortable feeling knowing that Cody chose polygamy. Cody says he lives his faith every day. He lives it because he believes it and he loves his wives. Cody doesn't think he needs to defend his faith verbally to his friends. And he says Megan, who has never seen them publicly, she has never seen them in public, she knows Cody loves his wives. So Cody feels he doesn't need to defend it, he just needs to live it. Now, if someone is truly Cody's friend, regardless of what they think spiritually about Cody and his religion, regardless of if they're worried about his salvation, if they respect Cody, they will agree that they both believe differently and allow that to be Cody's problem and Cody's choice and Cody's issue to take up with God. That's not Ken's issue to interfere and to continually interfere. He has to accept Cody as he is if he's his friend. If he wants to pray for him privately, that's his choice. But he can't keep being disrespectful, disrespecting Cody's wives, telling Cody he needs to divorce 3 of his wives and go back to the church, telling Cody he's going to burn in hell. These kind of things, if you're really a friend, you accept the person as they are, even if they take a different path than you spiritually or otherwise. At a certain point, Ken is inserting himself where it's not his place. Megan is right, and you have to live and let live. In confessional, Janelle says they have had this great experience over the past couple of days with Ken. So she knew that Ken was open and accepting. So she was a little bit surprised at some of the stuff that Ken said. Ken says they can be tolerant of Cody doing his own thing, but if they saw Cody preaching and converting others of their friends into their faith, that would bring up all of those hard feelings again. Cody clarifies that he doesn't want them in his church, and he says if Ken wanted to be a fundamentalist Mormon and become a polygamist, he would tell Ken that Ken was stupid. He would ask Ken, "Are you nuts?" Because Cody knows Ken is in his faith. He knows it, he believes it. So he asks, why would he want to be here? Why would he want to convert to being FLDS or being a polygamist? Robin explains to Ken that their church, the FLDS, does not condone them going out and preaching. And Ken says that Cody has already explained that to him. And Robin says anybody who comes to them from the LDS has to search, and they have to do a lot of hard work to actually find them. Robin thought that Cody was really good about Ken. He sat there as Ken spoke and he just took it, and it really frustrated Robin. Jackie is playing devil's advocate. She isn't picking sides, but she points out to Ken his hypocrisy. She finds it interesting that Ken says he would be offended if they tried to teach him about their belief system when he discussed going on his mission himself, and he was going out and preaching and trying to convert people himself to his Mormon religion. So he would be offended if he found out that Cody was preaching his FLDS religion, but Ken finds it more than acceptable to go on missions and preach his Mormon religion to other people. So Jackie feels that Ken feels it's okay for him to tell people about his beliefs, but Ken doesn't think it's okay for the Browns to talk about their beliefs. Now, I have to agree with that. It is hypocritical, and ultimately, it's Cody's choices and Cody's consequences, as Megan said. But also, Cody's religion is associated with a cult and with the FLDS compounds and all kinds of evil and fraud and abuse going on associated with the faith, and psychos like Warren Jeffs, the epitome of evil. So Cody preaching or trying to convert people is a little different from Ken doing that, but it also shouldn't really be a problem for Ken to have Cody say whatever he likes regarding his faith without Ken getting offended. And I thought it was weird how Ken is afraid that Cody talking about his faith might confuse him in his Mormon faith that he grew up in. If Ken is so strong in his faith and he knows what he believes, anything Cody says about his faith should have absolutely no effect on Ken and his beliefs. And it shouldn't confuse Ken just to hear whatever Cody believes. And it shouldn't be offensive to Ken just to hear whatever Cody believes. Ken explains that Cody can come to Ken. He can use the info he grew up with, the basic concepts of the Mormon religion, and tweak it a little bit and confuse Ken and get Ken to decide that he is right, that Cody's religion is right. Ken says that is much more dangerous than two totally different foundational beliefs. That sounds like utter bullshit. If Ken is strong in his mind and he has a strong conviction in his faith and he firmly believes it, whether Cody mentions his religion or not, or the similar aspects of Mormonism and the FLDS, just the core similar beliefs, it shouldn't sway Ken or change his belief. He knows what he believes. He grew up in it. I don't see how it could be confusing or sway him in any way. But I can see not wanting a guy I feel is involved in something culty, talking to my friends and family, getting them to drink the Kool-Aid as well. If my impression is that it might be something nefarious or a cult like what I associate with the Warren Jeffs stuff and the FLDS cults, I wouldn't be confused by hearing them preach about their religion when I know my religion and I know what I believe. It doesn't matter what anyone else talks about or whether it's similar to my belief or not. I would not be confused, especially not by just hearing Cody speak, when if Ken strongly believes in his faith, that should not sway or manipulate or affect him at all. If he knows his religion, he knows his religion. Who cares if Cody voices his beliefs? How would it influence him at all or be a fear that it might confuse him in his religion? That was weird. I think Ken associates Cody with the FLDS and cults and the evil side and the abuse. And so I think Ken is scared that if Cody starts talking, he might charm vulnerable people to drink the Kool-Aid. But he probably doesn't feel comfortable saying all of that and expressing it. So he says he fears being confused or manipulated when I don't think that's exactly the case. It doesn't make sense. Ken says Cody leaving their religion and then trying to drag more people with him is much more threatening than if a Catholic friend of his were to try and convince him to become Catholic. For Ken, that's not as threatening. Janelle says the double standard made her angry because she could be a Catholic and come tell Ken about her belief, but she can't tell Ken about her faith because apparently it's too close to his and he doesn't know his own religion, so she might confuse him with her interpretation of his religion. Christine says to her, this is what she believes. It's not a twist of anything. So when Ken said that, Christine was furious, and she was ready to get her Bible out and get her Book of Mormon out to go through each point asking him, how do you explain this? How do you explain this? I think because the LDS and the FLDS share a lot of the same core beliefs, other than certain things like polygamy, which are huge, of course, Ken feels like the FLDS takes his religion and twists it, and he really resents it, and he resents the stigma that the FLDS religion puts on his faith. And so he feels like it's a twist and a manipulation on what he believes, and he feels he's right and Cody's wrong, and he feels like it's a manipulation, it's a twisting of his beliefs, and he resents it a lot. It stresses him out. He knows Cody can be a bit of a car salesman, and he just doesn't want to go there, and he doesn't want to deal with it, and he knows it's going to end up in a bad place. And I think Christine and some of Cody's wives might feel insulted by Ken representing their religion, not only maybe as a little culty, but also as a twisting of his religion. Because for them, they believe that religion. That's what they live. That's what they believe. That's why they live this way. So I think both of them step on each other's toes and both of them feel insulted. Ken is very blatant and very vocal about his distaste for their faith, and he is very disrespectful to Cody and the wives, calling Cody crazy for making that decision, calling Cody stupid, telling Cody he should divorce 3 of his wives and keep one and go back to the faith. All of that is really disrespectful. When you are friends with a person, you accept them as they are, you agree to disagree or have different faiths, and just not go there and love the person as they are, understanding it's their choices, it's their relationship with God, it's their deal, you have nothing to do with it, and it's not your job to cross that boundary or be disrespectful as a result of your friend having a different faith than you. Ultimately, Ken says a friendship is being tolerant with each other's beliefs, enjoying each other's company, and wishing the best for each other. Is calling your friend stupid for living polygamy and picking a different faith than you, tolerating their belief? Is calling them crazy for making that decision to join a different faith or become a polygamist, tolerating their belief? I don't know. I don't really feel like Ken is 100% tolerant of Cody and his wives. Mary tells Ken that that's a good place to be, and Ken says when you go through the initial shock, it's just going to be that way, and they have been through the shock factor, and now they have moved on and they can be tolerant. Cody explains that he wouldn't sit here and say to his friends, this is the greatest thing. But at the same time, he looks at these 4 women in his life and their relationship and their love and their friendship and their family and their children, and he says, wow, this is the greatest thing. Cody says this isn't for Ken, and he isn't expecting it to be. He isn't expecting this to be for everybody else. He isn't expecting his lifestyle or his faith to be for Ken or any of his high school friends. Cody says Ken has chosen his life and his path, and he has chosen his. Cody wants to be able to have a friendship in spite of their religious differences. Next, Cody and the wives head back to the spot they boated in yesterday to Horseshoe Bend to watch the fireworks. Mary comments that it's super windy and she doesn't know if they can still do fireworks in this kind of wind. And right as she's commenting, a classmate comes up out of nowhere and she gives Cody a huge hug. And Cody at first doesn't recognize her. And Cody needs her name, but he knows the person who is her sister. He just doesn't remember her name. And this lady asks if Cody recognizes the guy in the truck, and Cody remembers him perfectly. He can remember a classmate from over 20 years ago. He remembers his full name of this guy he hasn't seen in decades since he was maybe 18. But Cody can't remember his own son's birthday. During this scene at the lake, the camera pans to two girls in the background, and they look like they are laughing and talking shit about the Browns or about Cody. I don't know if that's what they're laughing at, but they're definitely being snarky, laughing at something. It looked like they were making fun of Cody and talking shit about him. Cody says it's different now to be able to come to a place where they're all polygamists, and rather than having the scarlet P put on them, they're actually being befriended. People are saying, I don't care about your lifestyle. I'm your friend and I like you. Cody says they were people he knew. These are people who knew him from before he was public, and they were also sweet and sincere and genuine to come up to him and say hi. They show Cody posing for a picture with the different townfolk and people he went to school with. He's loving the attention, soaking it in, taking different pictures with the locals. A friend from high school, a local, asks Cody if Nevada is a good deal, and Cody reveals that they are running into some great opportunities. Cody will be selling real estate in a couple of months, if not sooner. Wow, that never happened. First of all, what opportunities is Cody referring to? Please don't let it be my sister wives' closet. An episode ago, Cody was struggling with his wives, trying to come up with a family business concept that no one could even agree on. And this episode, he is running into great opportunities in Nevada, and he will be selling real estate in the next month or two, if not sooner. Guys, remember when the Browns spent the day with Mona setting up signs for an open house, and it wasn't really pursued real estate really heavily, except for with Janelle? Cody said he wanted to be a real estate guru that episode, as he was setting up a sign for an open house on a street corner. And we know with Coyote Pass, Cody's big dream was to build rentals so they could rake in the money. Will Cody finally be a real estate guru in season 18 of Sister Wives? Will Cody manifest it? Will this come to fruition? Dream, believe, achieve. Finally, is that going to manifest for Cody? And is he going to become the real estate guru he was always meant to be? He says he wanted to do real estate in that episode when he and his wives were helping Mona. And here in season 3, episode 5, he's saying he's going to do real estate in a month or two, if not sooner. Now we're all the way in season 17. I don't even think he's ever had his real estate license. All we know is he really, really, really wanted to build rentals on Coyote Pass because there's a deficit in the rental market in Flagstaff. And he could rake in tons of money if he just built rentals on the property. And he's always wanted to be a real estate guru. And now that he has gotten rid of the obstacles to his goals in life, his family, his wives, and his kids, he might actually get his dream of becoming a real estate guru and developing Coyote Pass into rentals. I doubt it, but it's been a dream since early on. Last episode, Cody was an entrepreneur starting a family business. This episode, he is swatting away opportunities with a fly swatter in Vegas and going into real estate in a month, maybe two, if not sooner. This guy is all over the place. Cody's friend asks if the laws are more relaxed out there, and Cody's response verbatim is, "There's no, well, yeah, they struggle with illegal prostitution down on the strip all of the time. So do you think they're going to bother me?" Well, in Utah, Cody knew what the policy was, and he knew when LE opened an investigation, they had to as a formality because Cody was flaunting something illegal in their faces on a reality TV show. And Cody knew the policy was not to charge the polygamists or people who are accused of bigamy unless there were other concurrent crimes going on at the same time, like fraud, abuse, etc. So I checked, and every state has bigamy laws. But in Vegas, of course, there are bigamy laws as well. And regardless of illegal prostitution, it doesn't mean that the Browns could not have been prosecuted and that Cody could not have been prosecuted. If they wanted to prosecute Cody, they would have. In Utah, Cody felt threatened by the laws. But in Vegas, even though similar laws are in place, Cody doesn't seem to feel threatened. In Nevada, bigamy is outlawed, and it's illegal to remarry a person whose spouse is alive, and it's illegal to be unmarried and knowingly marry someone you know is already legally married. Cody may have felt more comfortable in Nevada because it seems more liberal, but they definitely still have bigamy laws like every other state in the U.S. Cody mentions that he has to be really careful about his opinion because it can get him into trouble. He doesn't want to talk politics. He wants to discuss old days and football. April is a classmate of Cody's, and this gem comes close to the end of the episode. April knew Cody in high school, and she hears a lot of the people shit talking about Cody in public. They say things like, "That's just disgusting," or "That's gross." And she reveals that when she and Cody were in high school, they all thought Cody was gay. Not just gay, but flamboyantly gay. She goes on to say that Cody just had a very feminine side to him. They show a picture of Cody in a dress for a school play, flexing his biceps like he loves to do in the mirror, even at 50 plus. April isn't holding back. She says Cody wore very tight pants and he always had this thing with his hair. He would flip it around all the time like he still does. April says she is pretty sure Cody is not gay though, with the 4 wives and all. I think Cody only knows what his preferences are, and that's personal to him. But a viewer of mine did make a great point that maybe Cody started with polygamy because of the bullying and people assuming he was gay when maybe he wasn't. And having many wives and living polygamy is a way to show all of his bullies that he isn't what they said he was. Not that Cody is gay, just that maybe subconsciously Cody picked this lifestyle to prove a point to people who assume things of him, whether wrongly or not. I don't know. I'm not a head shrinker, but that comment made me think, so I want to read it to all of you. This is from a viewer of mine, Becky, who writes, "This may be a stretch, but one has to wonder if those remarks by his classmates, when they collectively said they had always assumed Cody was gay. Cody had to have known some of his classmates thought so, even in school. So did he compensate for that by not simply taking a wife, but rather taking 4 wives, not producing 2 or 3 kids, but producing a ton of kids? Does his overcompensation in announcing his manliness have its roots in those teenage assumptions? He just has such a tendency to seek male approval that is so astounding to me. The way he slobbers over Caleb, his best friend, who was so against polygamy. The way he reacted or overreacted about the couch, the salesman suggested. As you said, most men would say, whatever, but how much does it cost? She goes on to write, I didn't mean that he was gay. I just think he tries hard to overcome the assumption that he was gay by going so far overboard to prove he's not. Childhood wounds can run deep, and sometimes the insecurities created by them can last a lifetime. You can spend your life trying to disprove what others thought of you. I just thought that comment was interesting and thought-provoking. Cody usually doesn't perceive himself, in my opinion, as others perceive him. So could those assumptions from his classmates that he was not only gay, but flamboyantly gay, whether those classmates assume wrongly or not, does that subconsciously make polygamy appeal to Cody? Because what better way to prove to these idiots that they are wrong than marrying not one woman, but 4? I don't know, but I thought it was a very interesting thought. We also don't know if Cody was bullied or to what extent, but we do know people saw him as the awkward, dorky kid who would do anything for the limelight and for attention. And we know some people may have thought that he was flamboyantly gay. We know none of Cody's friends were shocked at him wanting to be on camera, front and center, a showboat, putting his lifestyle and his life and his family and his daily life on display. That came as no surprise to anyone. Cody's excuse about most of his classmates thinking he was flamboyantly gay is that he tried to be fashionable. He tried to be metrosexual, he says. He says that's what you call it nowadays. That's the term you use, metrosexual. Robin confirms that Cody is very metrosexual. Cody says he's a fashionable guy who might be in touch with his feminine side. And he says this experience gives him hope for his children or for any fundamentalist Mormon kids that they can be who they are and not be ashamed of it. And that gives Cody a lot of hope for his mom in this community in Lovell. Cody feels like he can tell his mom that she can walk down the street and be involved in the community with her head held high. Cody says there is no animosity there anymore, and it's safe for them to come out. Cody felt like he had a very warm welcome. It was a sweet homecoming. And we learned Cody and Robin decided on a name for the baby. It's going to be Solomon. Mary loves it. She thinks it's really cool, and she loves the old-fashioned names. Robin does too. Janelle thought that poor child when she heard the baby would be named Solomon. I thought that too. When I think of the name Solomon or Saul, I think of an 80-year-old man in a nursing home playing bingo Thursday nights. Janelle says that's way too big a name for a little kid like that. Christine stays positive as usual. She says she loves King Solomon. So Christine thought, okay, that's kind of cool when she heard the name for the baby. She says King Saul is a cool guy to be named after. Cody really likes the name. He says it's a strong masculine name. In Cody's perception, he says it's perfect for their little boy. I don't know. When I think of a sweet, innocent little newborn baby, the name Solomon doesn't come to mind, but I mean to each their own. Cody refers to Solomon, he and Robin's child, as our little boy. Now notice, with Robin's kids, it's ours. They're ours. It's our little boy. Cody takes ownership. He accepts his fatherhood. It's not Robin's boy, Solomon, like the way he refers to Janelle and Christine's kids, not as his kids or our kids, but that's Janelle's boy. That's Janelle's son. That's Christine's daughter. That does it for this episode. I'll be back next week for the next episode of my Sister Wives Rewatch, Season 3, Episode 6, The Wives' Diet Woes. I wonder if Robin will tell the trainer about her struggle to gain weight like she mentions in other earlier episodes. We'll have to see. To my YouTube viewers, please like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section if you like. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.